Despair is always not a feeling. It's more of a decision, right? In my work, which I do for my NGO, despair is very evident. It's pure, it's raw, and it's like you can see it all the time. This is in parallel to being, which is my primary job. So despair is something which is pretty visible. Despair is something which is pretty evident. Now what do we do next, right? That's where, when you join your thoughts and when you think about things that can bring together a shift in momentum, a shift in perspective, what would you do? So I'll take you back to a small story on how it all started for us. 15 years back, I think I was standing with my friends. It was probably December, cold night. We were standing on the side of the road where there was a lump of garbage which was probably being burnt. And that's where we saw a dog which was probably half buried, half burnt, and it was absolutely confused, not knowing what to do. Its pain was the despair that it had in its eyes, that it was confused, that it did not know what to do. But in reality, it was basically betrayed. This is unbelievable, right? It's so paralyzing. It's so frustrating that you tend to understand that this is the worst that anything could happen. And at that profound moment of fierce heartbreak, there was a thought which was burning in my mind. The thought was, the cruelty ends where I stand. But having said that, there was also another thought which was behind my mind. Is this task too big? How are you going to fight the system? You are just one person. How are you going to change the world, right? Now that brings to the most important topic that we all would want to discuss today. What are these thoughts, right? We all had a great engaging session with all the distinguished speakers where they spoke about thoughts. I would say experiences that they have had in their life where all these thoughts came together. I would also like to deconstruct this into 3 sections that helps us understand and would also allow you to kind of absorb the entire journey that we have had as an organization or as an individual that I've had. So the first thought is taming the passive thought, right? What is a passive thought? So when this thought of despair came into my mind, and when I thought that, okay, are the systems too big to challenge? Is the fight too big, or is the battle too big? That's when I had a thought that no. If I can do the change, if I can re-architect that in my mind, I'm sure that I will win against myself. That was the first question that I answered. The second question, how did I do it? I'll give you 3 simple ways on how I did it. The first way was that we wanted to make sure that we are always thinking actively, but not passively, right? The difference is, in a very real life example, we wanted to build a medical wing for our organization where we would take care of all the dogs who were critically ill. But for that, there was an investment that was required. The overall investment was somewhere around 3 lakhs that we had to incur, and we were looking for probably people who could help us in raising those funds, collect those funds, build that medical wing, and eventually help those people or help those stray dogs or stray animals whom we could support. The passive thought was, we tried everything that we could do. We did Instagram reels, we posted stories on Facebook, we did YouTube videos, lots of words of mouth, lots of friends that we had asked for help. Nothing happened. Passive thought, we tried everything. I think we have failed. But the active thought was, of that 3 lakhs, we just have to find 3 people who could do 1 lakh each for us and make this initiative happen. Now that's an active thought. Eventually, we did find the right type of resources, the right type of people who could deeply connect to the mission that we have, who could deeply connect to the purpose that we had, who could deeply connect to what we were trying to solve. And eventually, we got the funding, we got that active thought doing, and eventually we had the funding done and we took care of what was supposed to be taken care of. So that's the first difference, that what could we do when you have what is the difference between a passive and an active thought? The second would be visualize to sculpt your architecture. when you visualize, right,
There's going to be a lot of problems in your life. There are going to be a lot of obstacles, like the way that we see it, right? Even in your office, the basic mentality or the basic mindset that we have is we do the safest mechanism that is possible. For me, my success was more reactionary in terms of being proactive for a long time.
typically when I was probably young, whenever there was a setback that I had in my office or probably in my personal or professional life, the first thing that my mind allowed me to do was to find the safest alternative. And the safest alternative was to find who could I blame, right? In the organization, either it was always marketing, who had done something wrong through which my quota could not be achieved, or it was probably the finance team who did not approve a certain campaign, or probably it was someone else. And even in personal life, we blame our parents, we blame our friends, we blame our spouses,
We blame our girlfriends, whatever. The list goes on and on and on in terms of whom we choose to complain. But does that solve the problem? The answer is no, right? So when we talk about this, I think one of the things that we wanted is that we wanted to inculcate an active thought into the entire process of visualizing. So when we knew that one of the biggest problems that we were facing as an organization was that there were like so many stray animals, and the only solution to control the stray population was to do an ABC campaign. So for those of you who are not aware of what ABC is, it's called Adult Birth Control Program, which basically all the government and the governmental agencies and organizations run to control the population of stray dogs and stray animals, right? So one of the biggest initiatives that we had to take was that we had to rally around with local authorities and tell them that, hey, the population is too much. We have to run this program. How can we do this, right?
Rejections after rejections, hurdles after hurdles, lobbying after lobbying, there was no result which was coming. But rather, what did we do? We did not accept defeat, but rather we changed the narrative. What we did was that we made our neighborhood into the silent guardians that they could be. We educated them, we preached them, and we inculcated the thought where we told them that we are the guardians of this neighborhood. This is our neighborhood and we need to take care of this. So instead of waiting for authorities, so instead of waiting for any other organization, or instead of waiting for any grants or funds or anything that could be raised, we took the situation in our own hands. We trained and we educated the local neighborhood. What it resulted was in an absolute amazing result. We were able to control the stray population.
The people in the neighborhood started getting more deeply connected to the animals. The number of cruelty cases were less, and the most important part, the population was under control. So that's the first thought. Second, declare to ignite. I think there are a lot of people who talk about that, okay, this is something that I have decided that I want to do, right? And I think in some of the previous speeches, I believe there were a lot of people who said that there has to be action, there has to be a lot of thought process into whatever you're thinking and all that, right? And I absolutely agree with them. There is a very famous saying, a beautiful thought is a mere poetry without action, right? So I think when you declare that, okay, this is what you want to do, this is not just something that you declare physically, but this is something that you declare mentally. How does this happen? This does not happen when you step out of the door in the morning, outside, whenever you go to your office or to your colleges or to your schools or to any other place, right? But it happens when you wake up in the morning and you put that thought in your mind that, okay, I have taken
decision. This is how I'm going to do it. This is how I'm going to rally around. This is how I'm going to crush it. And eventually you will see, not just in the physical form, but from the mental form, your entire architecture of living is going to get re-architected. That's the second thought. The third thought is endure to conquer. In our field, if you look at the word despair, right, it's pretty obvious and it's very common. Because every day when we are out in the field, trying to help a voiceless, we might lose a life. We might lose a case. We might lose a battle. We might lose, speaking to, people, trying to convince them not to do certain things. But eventually, the loss, the despair is always evident. But if our mindset is fragile, then everything is going to get broken. But Instead, if we are considering that loss as one of the learnings to teach us what can we do better to make sure that we are acing it and trumping it the next time when we are doing this, that gives us more confidence. So if you look at our lives, and I would like to speak this on behalf of all the people who are associated with animal welfare,
who are associated with, taking care of all the animals. Our life, our existence is not dependent on the fight or the battles, but it is dependent on the odds. Because if we go and believe that we can save a life today, and if we end up losing that life, and if our job gets shattered there, that's called fragile mindset. And animal welfare or, having a true inspiring thought is not for us.
but if we make that as one of the reasons on why we should endure, why we are here, what is the purpose behind it, and what is the real meaning of doing this, which helps us to ignite that flame within us, that this is what the true definition of compassion is, then that's called enduring to success and making a mindset which is much more stronger as compared to what I mentioned before of having a fragile mindset. The last part could be more also in terms of the overall mindset that we have, right? As I said, thoughts, right? When we talk about our everyday life, there are a lot of times, there are a lot of occasions where we only speak about this, that the fear of failure or the fear of being left out. There is a new word, there's a new term that few millennials use, which is called FOMO, fear of missing out and all that. I got to learn this from my previous founder. He had a massive FOMO though, but yeah. So stuff like this, right?
Go home tonight, and I have a task for you. Ask yourself, what is that passive thought which has been keeping you behind, right? What is that passive thought that has been holding you? Why didn't you send that email? Why didn't you make that call? Why didn't you send that text message? Why weren't you in a position to help that animal when it needed your help? And then you will get the answer on what are the thoughts which are passive and how can you re-architect and reimagine your life by making it active thoughts. In conclusion, I wanted to share a couple of thoughts.
That has been a very realistic and a very profound experiences for us, right? While running an NGO, we do encounter a lot of problems, and one of the active problems that we had was that we ran out of funds. Now, there are certain grants that are given by the esteemed government, but then most of it is also self-funded, right? Where a lot of individuals like me who are employed, they come together, they have this common passion that we share, and we all contribute towards the common cause of helping animals who are in need, right? Now, suppose if the funds run out, what do we do? This is a very realistic problem that every co-founder could face. We are in an era where we are building the best of the best apps. We are putting India on the map. We are, a very proficient country when it comes to AI. We have been building some amazing things. The type of backup that we have in terms of the upcoming generation is absolutely phenomenal as compared to any other country. And the potential that India has is absolutely amazing. So when we talk about this, right, this as a perennial problem, this mindset that if your funding runs out, you're at ground zero, what do you do? And one of the thoughts that we've had, which has helped us to endure this and conquer that small chatter that we had in the back of mind, the whisper, which basically talks about, no, this is not happening. This is a lost cause. To conquer that, what we did was that we replaced our thoughts with active thoughts. And the active thoughts were more in terms of telling us, what is the purpose behind all of this? Why did we struggle for such a long time? Why are we struggling? Why is this so important for us? That's where the fierce word called fierce empathy kicks in. I'm sure a lot of us in the room, majority of us, 99% or 100% of us, know the term empathy, and everybody has an empathetic feeling towards something or the other, a person, a living being, or a thing, whatever, right? But I want you all to do this as a task. What in your life where you can replace the term empathy with fierce empathy? You will get the answer why the animal welfare people are so motivated against all the odds. Why the NGOs are so motivated against all the odds. The term that helps us, the term that fuels the desire to make sure that things are running smoothly and to do and to act in the absolute moment of adversity. And in the end, I want to leave you all with a thought. When you go back home tonight, right, I all want you to think that what's holding you back, because passive thoughts basically put shackles on your dreams and active thought basically unlocks it. So when you know that active thoughts are the ones which are going to be the key to your success, which are going to re-architect the entire universe around you, I want you to do this as a practice. Think about the things that you can visualize to sculpt a beautiful future for yourself. What are the things that you can declare which is going to ignite the passion within you to achieve what you want to? And finally, how are you going to endure to conquer all the roadblocks, all the hurdles that come your way, which eventually will make you win? This is going to be a task for you. But there's a disclaimer. Don't wait for permissions. Don't wait for motivations. And definitely don't wait for any resources. Because if you're going to do that, you're going to make a fool out of yourself. Every individual, whoever has started a company, every policy in the government, every city that was turned around, every beautiful country that looks beautiful, it all started with one single person having one stubborn idea of changing the narrative. That is called active thought. And I leave you all with that if you can change the narrative by changing the thought process that you have, by creating an impact in your own life, then you will have the perfect example of what reinventing yourself and what re-architecting the entire life would look like. My name is Adhyuth Ramadayani, and I thank you all for your time. Thank you.